I just want to do God's will.
The kind of revolution that the world needs is a Christian revolution.
If you want a miracle, you've got to expect it to happen.
You're the recipients of God's grace and God's blessings, and you rejoice in that reality.
Welcome to Life Today Live. I'm Randy Robinson, and if you've watched, you know that an issue that I care very much about is this issue of abortion. And let me just say off the top, if you have had an abortion, I'm a Christian. I'm not here to condemn you for your past. I'm here to tell you that there is healing, there's redemption. You're probably going through enough. You don't need some guy like me piling on. So that is not the vibe here, not at all, okay? At the same time, we can do two things. We can work to stop future abortions, and I think we absolutely should. I think this is the most critical issue in our country today. It's very personal to me. I was adopted at birth. I was an unwanted pregnancy. I was an unplanned child, but my mother graciously gave me up for adoption, gave me a chance at life. 25 years of age, I found her. And I have a great relationship with her to this day. And so even the worst circumstances can turn out for good. Just give people like me a chance. That's all I ask. So we're going to update you on some things. There's a wonderful organization called Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America that is doing a lot of great work, much of it on the legal front, most of it, I think. And I have someone here to update us, and we're going to roll through some of the things, some of the victories that have happened, some of the things that are going on currently, the current climates, some of the challenges and the fights we need to get through. So I'm excited to have the State Public Affairs Director, Kelsey Pritchard, on with me from SBA Pro-Life. Let's get to it. Kelsey, welcome to Life Today Live.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Randy.
So, wow, where do we start? Okay, so it's been a wild ride. You know, Trump came in and threw it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court junked a junk law in Roe v. Wade, just from a legal standpoint. Not a good law. Threw it back to the states, and a lot of people celebrated that. I get it. At the same time, now it's like, okay, we had one fight, now we have 50, so it's a little crazy. What's going on out there?
Yeah, so actually the Supreme Court, not only did they give the states the ability to legislate on the issue of abortion now, but also our lawmakers at the federal level have the ability to weigh in and represent the people on this issue. So thankfully, we have 22 states that have a pro-life law on the books. That would be laws that protect life at 12 weeks or sooner. Now, of course, our organization would prefer every law to be life at conception laws, but we do celebrate heartbeat laws. We do celebrate first trimester limits as a starting point. And so we've gained a lot of ground in a short amount of time. You consider what has happened just since that decision came down. At the same time, we've had a lot of attacks. We've had attacks in the courts. We've had attacks at the ballot box with really deceptive abortion ballot measures that have rolled back some states that did have pro-life laws and no longer do. And we also have some states that have laws, but they're not in effect because of a pending court decision. And so it's a place where we can celebrate victories, but we at the same time have to recognize we're not even close to done yet. This is the beginning of the fight. We're nowhere near the end.
So you mentioned deceptive laws. I in the last election, we had some local ballot thing. I can't remember if it was state or just local, but I had to read it like 4 times because I was like, wait a minute. When I first saw this, I wanted to vote one way, but when I carefully read it, I realized that it's the exact opposite. Like, I want to vote for something, but I have to vote against this measure to vote for it. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Yeah, very, very deceptive wording used in these pro-abortion ballot measures. They often refer to like reproductive health care or care for women. They frame it more in the healthcare language, which can be confusing as to, we're talking about abortion. And what essentially these things did or would do, it would allow abortion at any point in pregnancy in all 9 months. They also have implications when it comes to parental rights, getting rid of parental rights laws, getting rid of every single regulation that's on the abortion industry so that they can operate free of any oversight of the state and really put women and girls in danger. And they also require and force taxpayers to fund abortion. So these are these are extreme and horrible if you're pro-life, but if you're moderate and in the middle, this is far beyond what the average American can support. But the way they're deceptively worded, some of these have passed, like in Ohio and Missouri, and people are now waking up to what those things actually mean, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's that, and again, they don't just do that with abortion laws. I've seen it in all sorts of realms, but it's just kind of a rotten thing to do. So we have to be a little wiser. And actually, before you vote, I would go to organizations like SBA Pro Life and just say, okay, what are they saying? Because they'll tell you if they're trying to trick you on these. Just an aside, the last 4 years before the most recent election, obviously the Biden administration was very pro-abortion. That's not like an accusation. They were campaigning on it against Trump. I mean, it was like their big issue. And I got to tell you, I was a little concerned that they might sway enough people so that, Kamala Harris would be president right now, and just from a pro-life standpoint, would make it more difficult. What were some of the challenges you guys faced under the Biden administration?
Oh, a lot of challenges. I mean, they weren't the Democrats of the 90s and before of we think abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. They're the modern day Democrat, unfortunately. Abortion should be available at any time, anywhere. And so that was essentially their platform. That was their number one issue. Like you said, they put forth a lot of deceptive advertising about pro-life laws, saying that in a pro-life state, if there's a pro-life law, women can't get emergency health care if they experience a miscarriage or ectopic pregnancy or other things. They said that those laws ban that care, which is a complete lie. In every single state that has a pro-life law, they allow emergency care for women, as they always have. But they ran on that. They ran on that fear-mongering, and they exaggerated so many things and misrepresented the issue. And we were very, very happy to see the American people reject that and not fall for their lies on abortion. And we were one group that was really involved in that election, and we invested $92 million. We were in 8 battleground states to defeat Kamala, because she made it pretty clear that if she was elected, she would ban states from having pro-life laws, and she would force every state to adopt all trimester abortion. So it was huge that she lost. It was huge that the Democrats didn't win in Congress, and we have Republican majorities in both houses. And if you think about it, this is the first presidential election since the Dobbs decision, and for the Republicans to take everything, that's huge. That should signal something to us on the issue of abortion when the other side made it their number one issue.
Well, yeah, and even if that wasn't necessarily the thing that swayed the voters, because I know there are a lot of other things at play, this is the time to make hay while the sun shines, as the old saying goes. And it's interesting you mentioned that about them literally lying. I think it was Biden's last debate performance that he was going on about this, although it could have been here. It was probably both, actually. But they talk about Texas, my state, right? And how women, basically if a woman was dying, she couldn't get any care because it might be considered an abortion, which abortion is not actually health care, so even that obfuscation is deceptive. I went and I looked it up on the website, and the state of Texas has basically, if the life of the mother is in jeopardy, the doctor can do whatever he needs to do to save the life of the mother. There's no ban. I talked to a doctor in the state of Texas. Is her name Dr. Kopp? I think you'd know her. Dr.
Ingrid Scott?
Ingrid, yes. Thank you very much. There's my memory for you. But she said that actually some of the organizations that doctors are in, and I'm botching this a little bit, so you have to go look up the interview if you want to watch it, if you're watching out there. But the doctors' organizations were misinforming the doctors, saying if someone comes in and has, so it was a problem all the way through. And I go, man, okay, look, let's at least be honest about where we stand and what we're saying, and the outright deception. I mean, I could argue that it's kind of part and parcel to the movement, but I think it's evil.
It is evil. And what they do when they tell those lies and confuse people is they lead women to think that they should delay in seeking care. They lead women to think you should get on an airplane when you're bleeding, you should travel to another state to
That's
get care.
crazy.
That puts women in danger. It also confuses the doctors themselves. When you're right, when you read the law, it's clear. The Texas Medical Board even made it more clear when they issued their guidance. And so in Texas, it's really, really straightforward. And yet the abortion lobby is creating this confusion. They're using this as their number one talking point, that women will die and you can't get care, because it's all they have. It's really revealing to, if they have to rely on that argument and they can't talk about abortion, they can't talk about elective abortion, that they know that there's not all the support there that they need for their issue. And so they have to lie. It's their only way that they can justify abortion at any point, which is what they want.
Yeah, it irritates me to a level. Okay. I want to show you a website. This is the website, sbaprolife.org. If you want to follow up there, if you want to help fight the battle, you can support them there. There's also a podcast over here under the news tab, Abortion Exposed. So you can catch up with some of the things going on. Of course, the news, Exposed Abortion is what it's called. Either way, you can catch up with all that they're doing, and if you want to jump in the fight, please do it. But Kelsey, what's sort of the climate now that Trump has been elected again, for which I am thankful, but I will also acknowledge that President Trump he's not out there pro-life. He's kind of dodged the issue by letting it go back to the states, frankly. And, not everybody in the administration is to the level of pro-life that you and I are, but what is it doing for you guys in the fight that you're fighting?
Yeah, I think we had a lot of questions as to what the beginning of a Trump, first 100 days would look like for his administration, given on the campaign, what he said, but also knowing his history as really being the most pro-life president that we've had. So what we saw in the first week was promising, and we were celebrating. Some of the things he did included, he freed the pro-life prisoners that were exercising First Amendment rights in front of abortion facilities and thrown into prison. And he's been talking about how the Biden administration weaponized the DOJ to punish their political opponents. Well, this was an instance of that, and those prisoners have been set free. We're talking about grandmothers, mothers, someone who was a part of a communist prison camp. She was one of the people that Biden administration jailed. And so it was a huge victory to see them in week one get pardoned, go home to their families, and resume their lives. And so that was a great victory. We also saw that the return of the Protect Life rule, Global Protect Life rule, which some people know as the Mexico City policy, which essentially says that if you're an international org that provides abortion, you're not going to be able to receive funds from the U.S. for family planning and those kinds of things. And so it's good to see that return. That is returned under every Republican president, and Trump brought it back. And we also saw the cementing of the Hyde Amendment. He brought that up, or the Hyde policy. Under the Biden administration, they were paying for abortion travel through Medicaid, through the DOD. And this is a good step to reversing that and other types of things. And also, just on day one, there was this website that the Biden administration had, a government-funded website. It was called, I believe it was reproductiverights.gov. It was like a Planned Parenthood website, essentially promoting abortions, kind of selling abortions, and that was down day one. And so it's been promising to see what he did in his first week, and also to see his video at the March for Life, to see J.D. Vance speaking at the March for Life as his first public appearance as vice president. So we were really happy with week one, and we're hopeful that things will keep moving in the right direction.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Do you think, is Doge uncovering anything? Because they've been sliding funds around D.C. for so long, and Planned Parenthood says they don't actually do abortions or whatever. They may not, if they got their hands in it, we'll put it that way. But is there anything you think that's going to alleviate the taxpayers from funding abortion and I'll call it abortion adjacent efforts with some of the Doge stuff? Any idea?
Yeah, I mean, we saw Elon Musk, I think, call out the funding of Planned Parenthood And I think that it's a huge thing that they get so much of our taxpayer dollars. They get $700 million annually from taxpayers. That is a third of their overall revenue. And so, I mean, we are subsidizing the number one cause of death in the United States by giving them all that money and propping them up. And of course, what do they do with that money? They then in turn not only run their abortion businesses, but they invest in the Democrats and who will then allow them to do more work and make more money.
Exactly.
And so kind of revolving, disgusting door. They're really Donald Trump's one of his top political enemies. When you think about how much they invested in this last election, it's really time to talk about defunding them and taking steps to doing that. We were pretty. I think we've seen good things, especially from the RFK hearings, where they mentioned that this could be a priority, and looking into things like the dangers of abortion drugs. So yes, we need to move in this direction, and in part because the American people don't even support this. Even pro-choice people, a lot of them don't think we should be funding abortion and funding Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, well, which is wild. An HH director who was a lifetime Democrat being probably the guy that could help square away a lot of this. Okay, so for Susan B. Anthony, for your organization, what is y'all's strategy? What are y'all working on for 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at the elections, and we're already thinking about the next presidential election and how we get involved with that. 2026 will be a big year for us. But 2025, we have elections this year too. There's a Wisconsin Supreme Court election that we are watching closely. That will determine the balance of their court and determine whether they have a conservative or liberal majority and whether their pro-life law stands. So that is a very important race. There's also going to be legislative races in Virginia this fall, and they just passed in their legislature an amendment to allow abortion at any point, one of those really bad amendments that we've seen in other states. Their legislature actually has to pass it again after this election. And so it's very important who wins the legislative races there in Virginia, so that measure is not put on the ballot and then funded by outside, George Soros and people deceived into voting for that, like they were in Michigan, Ohio, and a couple other places.
So from the ordinary person's standpoint, if you're in a state, get involved. Take 10 people to the polls, as Dave Bongino says. Inform people, get active. If there's not something in your state currently going on, what's the best thing for people to do? Yeah,
I mean, I'm going to go back to something very basic, but please pray. Please pray that over this movement and what is happening, because in a way, we're kind of the new pro-life movement because of the Dobbs decision, and now being able to actually have an impact and have change happen, thanks to what has happened at the Supreme Court. So we know that it's going to take miracles. We know it's going to take changes of heart and a shift in our culture. And that is not something that any one organization or any one person has control over. So if we could just all be on our knees pleading to God, asking him to move and asking him what he would have us do as a part of this fight. This is really the human rights battle of our time in our country. And so to be involved with this, it's, you can put your reputation on the line a little bit. There are things you can lose by doing that, but what an honor to be a part of this fight, and to be able to someday, tell kids and grandkids and future generations that we were fighting this fight, and to be a part of the overall solution that we know will take years and years to come.
Yeah, I think of the David Crowder song. When I see a mountain move, I think it must be somebody prayed, right? The power of prayer. We underestimate that, but God certainly does not. I'm curious about you, because, I thought this was just like an old man's issue where we're telling young girls, what to do with their bodies and that they can't get the proper care they need. How did you get involved?
Yeah, well, it's a very long story, but I've been pro-life since I was in middle school, since I learned what abortion was. I had a civics teacher who assigned me to be on a debate on the pro-life side, and I learned what abortion was, and I became pro-life. Later in my life, when I was a teenager, I was in an abusive relationship, and I thought, I should say, the boy thought I was pregnant, and he was pressuring me to abortion, and that was not consistent with what I wanted. But he was very verbally abusive, and it was very toxic. And had I been pregnant, I I don't know. He might have coerced me
Mm,
and pressured me to do that. And so I think that has given me some compassion and empathy for
sure,
women
sure.
who are in these situations, um, and to understand just the levels of coercion and pressure that are out there from whether it's a boyfriend or a parent or an employer, but the way the culture has told the lie that this is not a life, it's very easy, I think, for women to make the abortion decision, because of the way that things have unfolded in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
And so between that and I worked for a governor when I got out of college and became very passionate about state policy. I really feel like God just put lots of things in my life to make it clear and prepare me to be a part of this fight. And it's a real honor to be here. I have three kids. My middle child was diagnosed with cancer last year. And by many miraculous developments, he is disease-free, no evidence of disease today. But it kind of opened my eyes that as I was amongst parents and families that were fighting for their child's life in the cancer community, pediatric cancer, in the hospital we were in, to this shift of the culture and people who are fighting to kill unborn children. And it's such a, you know, they're your child when they're in the womb as much as they are your child when they are here on this earth. And to be a part of that solution, and also to know the devil delights when he can kill our children. And I know he delights in pediatric cancer, but the easiest way to kill our children is in the womb, and that's what he desires. And so it's just such an honor to be a very, very small part of this fight, and to fight the devil's agenda, and to just be a little small piece of the movement to move toward hope for women and more life for more unborn children.
Wow. So this is very personal for you.
Very, very.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for all that you do.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. The website, again, sbaprolife.org, and you can donate there. They are a 501c4, which means it's tax deductible on 501c4s.
Good question.
Yeah, good question. We don't know, but who cares? It's worth
Google will tell
it,
you.
right? It's
Yeah.
it's worth. I was going to say that, and I thought, wait a minute, I'm not sure there's like it is a 501c3s, but you can definitely support them at their website, and it's not a donation as much as it is an investment in a life, and I think that's a very powerful thing in your prayers. For those of you who are believers, and if you're on the fence about this, go get a sonogram. There's some places that'll give you free sonograms if you're pregnant and you're trying to figure it out. Man, I'm just, we both of us have had children separately. We're not married. Don't want to confuse. But you see a sonogram and you go, "Well, it's a child. Of course it is." It's wild. And so I want to preach a positive message of every life is valuable, has worth, and if you're not in a position to care for a child, there are so many people there waiting to adopt a child. So you have your options, and there are wonderful organizations out there that will help you. Google it. Yeah. You might scroll down because Google might be hiding it under a bunch of Planned Parenthood crap telling you to kill your child. That they're there. Go find it. Last word to you, to Kelsey. Whatever you want to say to the individual or to just the general viewer. How do you want to end this?
Yeah, I mean, it took 50 years for us to get to the road or get the road decision overturned. And I just think of all of the people who have been a part of this fight leading up to that, and all of the faithful servants of Christ who have poured in their time and treasure and talent into this fight. And now it's our turn. Now it's our generation, Gen Z, millennials, all of us who are here today on this earth. We are here, and God gives us a purpose, and this very well could be a part of your purpose. And so please just pray about how you can get involved, whether it's politically, whether it's going to your local pregnancy center, or whatever that looks like. We all need to be a part of this fight. We all need to talk to our friends and neighbors, and not to be afraid of these conversations, and to approach these conversations and those who disagree with us in love, and to love our enemies. And through that, I really believe that in the next 50 years, God's going to move and do some amazing things to end abortion.
And there's a strong parallel. Some people don't like it, but it is just true. You go look in the 1840s, 1850s, leading up to the Civil War, the abolitionist movement, and the parallels to the pro-life movement are so strong today, because you've got a class of people that are dehumanized, that are called property, and that are oftentimes being killed, and it's wrong. And in the 1840s, 50s, even when our country was founded, they saw no way to just abolish slavery like that, even though many of them were against it. Obviously not all of them. That was part of the problem. They were divided, right? You think today, I don't think we can never overturn this. There is a victory out there. We don't need a civil war, but you do need to stand up and fight. And the fight that you guys are doing at Susan B. Anthony are the kinds of fights that we need to fight. So thank you for the work that you do. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. God bless, Randy.
Appreciate the time that all of you have spent with us. If you would hit that share button, hey, let's all get in the fight. If you haven't liked, followed, or subscribed to Life Today Live, I would invite you to do that. We inspire, we entertain every once in a while, we try to inform, and we appreciate you guys being here. So come back. We'll see you again next time here on Life Today Live.
Because it's soon going to end. And truth will be on the throne for a change. Sunday is coming.